How's it going, my friend?
Good. How you doing, my brother?
Really excited for this podcast.
Me too. Me too.
So, do you mind just introducing yourself?
I go by the name CJ, aka CJ the Connect, and we're just here on the Spot podcast.
You know,
the first episode ever. I'm freaking excited.
Yeah, word, man. Word.
Yeah.
So, I think today is just gonna be a bit candid. We're just gonna talk about some things.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm gonna drop your socials on the bottom of this as a link, and
cool.
then probably mine as well.
Yeah.
What I'd like is I'd like some people to interact with us. Maybe tell us what they'd like from the podcast in future. Because what I have planned here is we're going to be covering a broad range of topics and disciplines.
Yeah.
But the main driver is going to be finance.
Agreed.
We're going to have investment ideas, trade ideas. We're going to talk about economics. We're going to have big names on. We have big plans for big names. But as we confirm these, we're going to advertise it properly.
Yeah.
So. I got into the podcast game mainly because of you, to be honest, man.
Yeah.
I was inspired by you. You were like the first guy. You're the pioneer of podcasts.
First? No.
Yeah, 100% in Namibia, or at least for me, within my circle,
yeah,
you're the guy making the move. So, would you mind just telling us how you started and why, what the motivations were?
So, man, podcasting is a very, very interesting space. And I feel and especially being in financials and stuff, right? I think you can carry the same principles I live by the same principles of getting into the market early when there's value. And I think you guys have the same, same type of thinking. So I got into podcasts because I knew that I saw how much free time it gave people. For example, I noticed that I was listening to podcasts when I was washing dishes or doing something else, right? Mm-hmm. So this whole idea of being able to multitask with podcasting, or like being able to listen to something educational while being able to do something else, changes everything. I mean, everyone's the number one asset in the world is time. So everyone's trying to find a way to save time. So I saw this industry was growing, and I feel like if you have something to say, especially as a business or as an entrepreneur or someone with some kind of voice, right? Being in the podcasting space is almost imperative. Like you have to be able to say what you're about. And I think this is where people are listening. This is where there's no noise and all that kind of stuff. So being on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of other players, but as you said, being one of the first Namibians to start a podcast made me stand out, and made even if I had 200, 300 listeners or whatever, those are people who are actually paying attention, 100%. and that's powerful. So yeah, that's what made me. Obviously, there's a lot of people that I look up to, that made me start the podcast. But man, I just know it's a massive wave.
Yeah,
it really is a massive
100%.
wave.
And just to add to that, I think I don't know if you've noticed, but podcasts dig deep into ideas, man. I think the age of information has brought us to that,
Yeah.
Like for instance, in finance, what we're doing is, if you look at Bloomberg or whoever, like if you watch television for your finance news, people are restricted to 5 minutes to get an idea across.
Yeah.
A complex idea, and usually it's more of a competition between two people with opposing views, and they both have 5 minutes to get a point across.
Yeah.
Which I don't think people are appealing to anymore. It seems like people are more interested in delving deeper into an idea for 20 to 30 minutes, even to an hour.
Agreed.
And then you break it down and you explain yourself, you explain the theory behind it, you explain your thinking behind it. And I think as a nation, as a Namibian nation, we can do much better,
No, I think
a financial market as well.
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot. I think
they're spot.
You're spot. I think you're spot on, because like people crave information, bro. People crave 100%. Content now. So that's why people want long form. Like even on YouTube videos people are watching 15, 30-minute videos on YouTube.
Yeah, watch hours.
Watch hours, literally. So now imagine being able to do that, but with as good content, but audio allows you to navigate and still do things that you want to do. Yeah. And that's the value. People are hungry for not just top level information, but in depth. And especially I can imagine in the financial space, like what you were speaking about, people only have 5 minutes, but now with platforms like this allow you to really dig deep into topics. And I think that's the value.
100%, man. That's one of the reasons why I got into podcasting. For those who don't know, just a disclaimer, I do work for Simon Storm Securities as an equity trader. So the idea was, since we have all this information, I started looking at information as an asset.
Yeah.
We have broker partners in Johannesburg who have reaches overseas. So if you look at the information we receive, right, I think we're doing it a disservice by just keeping it behind closed doors. And I think this is a good opportunity, since Simon Storm is actually providing us with this platform. Yeah. So I believe it's a good opportunity for us to get the ideas out there. So if anybody has any idea of how to get the information out better, we're open to ideas right now.
Yeah.
I'm open to DMs. I'm pretty sure you are.
Yeah.
So if we have any ideas and any suggestions, we'd be 100% open to that. But just to speak on the asset factor of it again, we're trying to bring on big names onto the podcast.
Yeah.
You know? Like industry leaders. It's going to be a certain level that we're trying to reach, and we're going to reach it, you know, through just discussing ideas. And I don't think that platform is available for Namibians, especially not in financial markets. You know what I'm saying? So I really have, you know, big dreams with this podcast, and I'm really excited, and I see the potential, man.
Yeah.
You know, so just for you to bring some clarity in as well, man. You know, do you want to let people know about your own personal podcast as well, what you've done and what you're planning to do?
But first to touch on what you were saying about bringing the podcast into from a company perspective, I think there has, like I said before, you have to be able to communicate as a company, and I think as a financial company, you have a big obligation because man, like we don't learn financials in school, bro. Like we learn top level. I never learned how to do my taxes or pay bills or whatever in school. They teach you how to dissect a frog. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff that you literally stuff that you'll never use in your everyday life. So this allows not only allows you guys to get clients early in the process, because I mean, yes, you deal with a lot of high profile clients and people who are trying to manage their assets with millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff, but they had to start somewhere. Do you know what I mean? They had to start as some kid at some school or whatever. So platforms like this, I think, allow you to not only get your customer base earlier, so within 5 years, 10 years, when they reach a point where they need to manage the assets, you're front in mind, but like you also guide them through it, you know? Be like, listen, like these are the 10 tips of like how to manage your finances when you're 25, you know, to reach $1 million when you're 28 or something. You know what I'm trying to say? Like stuff like that kind of conversation. Also what's going on in the financial market, and like generally people do not understand it.
Yes.
And I think by doing a platform like this, bringing light to those conversations, super valuable. Like anyone, I would listen to it like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, cause no, I really would, because it's information that we don't get, and it's sad.
100%.
But my podcast is more about influence, and which is funny because I think, like I said, I think influence is one of the highest assets in the world, with time and everything. But influence is very, very interesting because it allows you to get a point across, right? And in order to get a point across, you have to have people's attention.
Yes.
And that's what I'm focusing on. The point of attention, whether it be on social media, whether it be in person. You have to be able to get in front of the person and they feel like you have their attention, and therefore you can have influence, you know. Getting your ideas across, being able to speak to someone and they're like, I get what this guy's saying, you know. I think that's super valuable. So my podcast is called How to Be Popular. It's not necessarily, it's not just literally about being popular, but it's about being prominent in your community. Like where people know you, people hear about you, people know what you do, which is important.
Building a brand.
Yeah. Building a brand is the key thing out here. I agree. It's the key thing, because we've come to a place where standards are like a degree. A degree is standard now. Everyone has a degree.
100%.
So if you walk into a room and you're trying to look for a job and you say, I have my degree, you think that's what's going to get you there.
It's going to be on a pile of papers.
It's going to be on a pile of and education has reached a level. I mean, with the internet, bro, you can get a Harvard education on the internet. Do you know what I mean? So you can be like, I went to Harvard or whatever. So it's going to come to a point of where you're looking at 3 people who are exactly the same on paper. What's going to make you make the decision to choose one person or the other? What's the differentiating factor?
Brand at the end of the day.
It's your brand. What's your message? What are you saying? And how do people see what you're saying? On your social platforms.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Building a personal brand, man, I honestly believe the CEOs of 2028, all of them are going to have very strong personal brands. All of them. 100%. And platforms like this is where it starts.
And also, you know what, I think there's a lot of value in connecting people as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, I read a stat the other day, which it was on Bloomberg, so it's a credited site, and they said like the average age of farmers in the world is over 55. Nobody wants to be a farmer.
Yeah.
The population is growing.
Yeah.
You know, everybody needs to eat.
But
so you see a clear problem in the production not meeting the demand.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a platform where you can bring farmers in to come voice some of their ideas, because none of us really have an interest in farming. We don't have an interest in producing anything, or even living in an area where you don't have signal, you don't have anything, the things that we value.
Yeah.
So if you can have a platform where you're bringing in people from a discipline like farming, and you bring them in with people who are into finance, we can provide these people with the capital that they need to actually address some of our needs, you know, as a society, as a country, as a continent, as a world, you know. So I think there's a lot of value in connecting people who would never have crossed paths, you know, and that's one of my goals, actually. I'm gonna try and bring on people who I see have the potential to build something that's going to, you know, build a better world for us, you know, be that facilitator. You know, I'm a stockbroker, and that's what we do. We bring buyers and sellers together. So, you know, I plan on doing that into perpetuity, and this is like taking the next step, being different, because I don't see any of the other stockbrokers doing it, you know. I think we're a pioneer in this space, and you know, like I said, very, very excited, man.
You know, that's, I think you're spot on, bro. I keep on saying it, but I think you're spot on. I think that should be the catchphrase of this thing. Keep it spot on.
I agree. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Bringing people that wouldn't have a voice prior, like the farmer situation. I didn't know that, and that's a big problem.
Exactly,
you know?
it is.
Because everyone wants to eat, but no one wants to put the work in to get the food.
Exactly.
So how are we going to solve that?
Yeah, we need to find complex solutions.
What's the government doing? Like, are they investing in this kind of stuff, or like what is it
the
like
government
right now?
does what the government does all the time. You know, they subsidize, they reduce on taxes, they make it easier for them to produce. But I really think we need something more disruptive, to be honest with you. I don't think a complex solution like that, you know, because my catchphrase, you know, something that really stuck with me for a long time is that incentive drives behavior.
Yeah.
You know, people need incentive to do certain things. So if we want farmers to produce more, we need to incentivize them. They need to make money out of it.
Yeah.
And that's where the financial gurus, aka us, that's where we come in.
Yeah.
You know, we come in and we finance projects, and we see how this is going to add value, how they're going to unlock value, where the money is going to go, and how they're going to make a return, and the consumer is going to be happy with the production.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just, it's not a trivial example. I think it's a very important example, but I think as a private sector participant, my goal is not to, or rather my goal is to have as little government as possible, because I mean, they're not profit driven. If you look at the phrase incentive drives behavior,